collected in the abdomen, partly because of some of the lost follicular fluid and also some amount of bleeding from the dominant follicles. Initially, when Edward did the egg pickups, it was most of the time a minimal stimulation or a non-stimulated cycle where they used to aspirate one follicle. And imagine the amount of difficulty they had convincing that patient this is equally a good option, and with not having any supporters to endorse their view, they took 10 years to come out with the result. In this couple, after the stimulation and the fertilization with the husband's sperms, the embryos were transferred to one of the sisters, and then the subsequent pregnancy has happened, and now the couple, both of them are working, are having a fulfilled life. Apart from the agencies, a common thing which we see is the unicoordinate uterus. In this, there can be 4 types of subclassification: a communicating, a non-communicating, absence of a secondary horn, or a secondary horn with no communication. These are the 2 important areas which can produce an ectopic pregnancy. And some of the recommendations says if you find a uterine anomaly in addition to a unicoordinate uterus, some of the recommendations are to remove that accessory horn, and Dr. Kurian will elaborate that in a little more detail in his talk. This is a unicoordinate uterus. When you look at it, the width of the uterus is lesser, and in a real-time 4D, this is how you see the cavity, and this is how the uterus looks like at laparoscopy. Unfortunately, this lady conceived with controlled hyperstimulation, but at 24-25 weeks, she had a breach and a PR1 and lost the baby. So whenever you are having a unicoordinate uterus, the discussion should be the reduced pregnancy rate and the increased loss rate. And the amount of prevention of number of weeks that can be pushed in unicoordinate uterus has a lot of limitations, and twins is a complete no in these pregnancies. Here is another patient where you are looking at a unicoordinate uterus, but when you look deeply, there is a blind horn here. This is a 2D image, this is a real-time 4D, and this is again a 3D reconstructed image. Here you are seeing the blind horn. After the separate, the other area is the didelphic uterus. In the didelphic, you will have a failure of fusion at all levels, where you can have a double vagina, double cervix, double uterus, and double tubes. This extent varies from person to person. Some people will have a 2 uterus and a single cervix. Some people will have both the cervix and the uterus in 2 in numbers and a single vagina. And the third group is they have a septate vagina, cervix, uterus, and then both of the things there. This is how it looks like in a 4D, because from the cervix there are 2 different planes, and in a 4D, unless you do lot of rendering, you won't get the correct identical image. But normally when you trace the uterine cavity, it fits in well. This is another patient where initially we thought it's a septate uterus. Then we realized they had 2 cervixes, 2 uterine cavities, and with a history of a vaginal excision which was not informed in the beginning. A septate uterus can produce an infertility, and when a surgery is done for them for correction, there's a lot of ambiguity how long should they wait for a pregnancy. And in one of the current recommendations, they say post-procedure, if the procedure is of shorter duration, she can plan her IVF or a pregnancy at the end of 6 weeks to 12 weeks. And most of them who had a benefit of a septate resection had the conceptions in the first 12 months after the procedure. The use of real-time ultrasound in doing the septal resection will help us to become much more certain when we come here. A lot of times you are not very sure whether we're looking at mild indentation at the fundus or no indentation. That is where your ultrasound shows the degree of space you have to which you have to dissect. And that fear can be the cause for many suboptimal septal dissections. When you look at a septate uterus, this distance is important, and you should also look at this distance to know how much of dissection you are doing. If it is around less than 8 millimeters, most of the time there's no need to correct it. So when you get a similar image, what are the things you are supposed to report? You should write the length of the both the horns, the depth, and the subsequent length. This length will help us to plan a better septal dissection in these situations. Here you have a septum which in the earlier years was most of the time diagnosed as didelphic because they have two horns. But with the advent of 3D, you are able to have a single cervix and two horns with a lot of space here where it gives you a chance to correct this and make it into a triangle. And some of them had pregnancies in one of the septums, and we didn't find any additional disadvantage or advantage or no change in the management of these people except for doing an encirclage. There are a few tips. When you look at arcuate uterus, the indentation is less than 10 millimeters. When you look at a bicornuate uterus, the indentation is more than 10 millimeters. This will help you to clarify this, which is a completely normal thing, and this is an abnormal thing. When you're looking at septate uterus, the dimple which you see at the fundus of the uterus will be absent. And in an arcuate uterus, where there is a small dent, at this moment, most of the ART people try to cut this and make it into a triangle. But the implications of that at this moment are not known. The other area of uncertainty is, if you did a septal resection, should they be managed as a post-cesarean pregnancy, or should they be managed as a normal uterus which is reconstructed and do a normal function? When it comes to DES, we realized that for many years, DES does not exist in India. But for the past 4 years, when we are looking at the uterine images, these images we are seeing quite often. That means some of these women which had the estrogen supplementation between 1934 and 1975, those are the children we are seeing them. And a possible role for this to consider as a possible estrogen exposure causing this symptom. Why I am emphasizing that is, in these situations, the implantation rate and the pregnancy rates are low. A procedure called lateral metroplasty is being done, in which the cavity is increased in size, but at the same time, some people report good pregnancies with that, some people report no pregnancies with that. With this, I would like to end the lecture. The key carry-home points are, if you are having a unicornate uterus, you should have to look at the rule out kidney abnormalities, because some of them are associated with kidney abnormalities. If you are looking at a bicornuate uterus, also question yourself what is the possibility of it being a septate, and did they check the checklist of the fundus. If it is a didelphic uterus, is it a double vagina, double cervix, and a double uterus, or a combination of these things at different levels? And when you're looking at arcuate uterus, are you considering it as an abnormal? If you're considering it an abnormal, what is the level of thickness of the fundus you are saying to say this is arcuate? Because if it is an arcuate, most of the time it can be left alone. I thank one and everybody for the patient hearing.